Good evening. I have 7 o'clock and call the meeting to order and ask the clerk, please call the roll.
Thank you. Mr. Greg David,
Present.
Mr. Tyler Dean,
Here.
Ms. Emily Hamburg,
Here.
Mr. Tom Schmitz,
Present.
Mr. John Welch,
Present.
and you have a quorum, Mayor.
Thank you. This evening we have Mark Poston to lead us in prayer. Pastor Poston.
Mr. Mayor, let's pray. Father, we thank you so much for what this beautiful day in the beautiful fall colors that you've created. Father, as we set aside time in the coming week to remember our veterans, for those who've served, for those who've given the ultimate sacrifice of giving their life for our freedom. Father, for the active duty men and women who serve today, we thank you for their service, for the freedoms that we have that they protect, and the freedoms that we have even today through elections. And Father, for those who run, we thank you for all of those freedoms that are protected. We just pray that you would just bless our mayor, our city council members, our city manager and staff. Thank you for their service. And Father, just bless them tonight and all that is discussed, all the decisions that are made. Father, may they bless those who call Bel Aire home. Thank you for Jesus in his name. Amen.
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 Thank you. Please join me in a pledge of allegiance to the American flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This evening we have a proclamation. So in 1954, the federal government declared November 11th as Veterans Day and designated it as a federal legal holiday. Veterans Day is celebrated and commemorated in observance of those Americans serving or have served in the armed forces and for their honor, sacrifice, courage, and dedication. Just bear with me for a second. I got to pull that up on my screen. To the citizens of Bel Aire, greetings. Whereas Veterans Day has its origins in November 11, 1918 armistice, which brought World War I to a conclusion. And whereas the Allied victory in World War I affirmed the strength of the great nations acting together for the high purpose. And whereas the people of the United States caused through their elected representatives the designation of November 11th as the federal legal holiday, which in 1954 became officially known as Veterans Day. And whereas Veterans Day continues to be celebrated and commemorated with the solemn observance and honor of all Americans who have served their country in times of war and conflict. And whereas the courage, honor, sacrifice, and dedication which veterans of the United States Armed Forces have displayed in the cause of justice, freedom, and democracy are most worthy of recognition now. Therefore, I, Jim Benage, Mayor, do hereby call upon all citizens to commend America's Veterans Day and observe the solemn pride of November 11, 2025, to be celebrated as Veterans Day. Move on to determine agenda additions. Are there any agenda additions that we need to consider?
I mentioned we had a late update to the packet. Not necessarily agenda addition at this time, but just let everybody know that.
There's 3 new items, is that correct?
Correct.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for highlighting that. So, all right, move on to the consent agenda. It contains only the minutes of the October 7th City Council meeting.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. David,
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as listed and authorize the mayor to sign.
I'll second.
motion by Mr. David, a second by Mr. Schmidt. Any questions or concerns? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Next item is approval of appropriations ordinance. So this ordinance encompasses expenses from October 15th through October 28th, and the expenditures amounted to $383,514.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Dean,
I move we approve appropriation ordinance number 25-20.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Mr. Dean, a second by Ms. Hamburg. Any questions or discussions? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. City requested appearances. This evening, we have Mr. Jesse Miller, who represents Bel Aire on the Sedgwick County Fire District Number 1 Steering Committee. Mr. Miller.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, council. Thank you all for having me today or tonight. I have an update with Fire District 1 Steering Council. We recently passed a resolution to bring in various cities and consolidate them into essentially our district, our fire district. I'll read a little bit of an excerpt from the resolution. So Sedgwick County Fire District Number 1 is comprised of highly trained and dedicated firefighters led by Chief Doug Williams and his leadership team who provide critical emergency services to multiple cities in unincorporated areas outside of the Wichita city limits. Several localities within the geographic boundaries of Sedgwick County Fire District 1, including cities of Cheney, Clearwater, Mount Hope, Colwich, Valley Center, and townships of Erie, Grand River, Greeley, Morton, Nensica, and Union currently receive fire protection through contractual mutual aid or automatic aid agreements rather than full membership within the fire district. Essentially, this resolution is bringing those towns in so that they, kind of an easy way to put it, they pay their fair share. A lot of these townships have volunteer firemen and women who basically aren't trained or equipped as our current fire district is. So it's really responding to those situations. There's been countless times where, let's say, things happen and individuals aren't trained or equipped to handle the situation that's at hand, and it stretches our fire department thin. With that being said, a lot of these townships, as kind of stated in the resolution, are receiving the benefits of our fire district training, equipment, things of that nature, and kind of putting people in harm's way when individuals aren't trained adequately. So this resolution brings them in so that way we can have them pay their fair share and take care of them. As I talked about on the previous time I was up here back in August or September, it's really about safety first and foremost. And then from there, we look at cost. I know that may be an answer, or excuse me, a question that kind of comes up here. What does that do to the mill levy, things of that nature? I can certainly circle back with you guys and get that information. Certainly ask me any questions or concerns that you have, but I was brought here today to just kind of let you know high level, essentially what's going on with this resolution and why it was passed. Questions, concerns?
Yeah, one question I have comes to mind right off the top of my head. A lot of those districts have invested in fire equipment themselves. Is there any consideration for the county fire district buying the equipment from them?
I can circle back and get that for you tomorrow morning,
Okay,
if that's okay.
thank you.
So
Anybody else?
what you're saying is they're going to be absorbed into
Correct.
the county. So does that mean they won't have their volunteer departments anymore?
From my understanding, they will, but we are responding basically first with this mutual aid agreement that we have now. It seems like they have other individuals who appear. We end up showing up anyway.
Right.
This makes it as though you're already within our fire district and we are there responding to that emergency.
But they would still respond as the volunteers because they're right there.
Correct.
And then you would respond, but then now you're tied in and then their education would be improved because they're going to, so then you guys would, and I guess I did say for everybody, you know what these other people's training is. So
Absolutely.
it aligns with what you expect. So if they don't know, and then you're trying to work together, that makes it tough. It's like, wait a minute, where are you from? Because you may not be able to do what we need to do. We're under
Absolutely.
even stand. Okay, so it's kind of a training uptick.
Absolutely.
As far as personnel goes, they're going to kind of stay in the individual cities, but you are going to be there now and you're incorporated with their fire department setup. But now you're a better tie-in.
That is correct.
Okay.
There was one instance, not sure if I shared this over the summer, but it was a emergency around just say 3 a.m., 4 a.m. And let's say 4 to 5 individuals were scheduled to show up. One did. The others took more than an hour and a half and there was a total loss. With that type of situation, just think of an emergency with your home. You want someone there immediately. That's what you're paying for. Now, imagine this situation where we're talking about, hey, someone is showing up to this emergency. You want the highest level trained professional individuals to respond in that crisis that's available to you. The other side of that coin is we are responding and we're not getting anything from it, right? So that's
Right.
kind of the other thing. So it's kind of twofold. We're bringing you in to bring everything up to speed so we're all on an even playing field safety wise, but also now that you're in the fire district, pay your way, essentially.
All right, well, that brings me to a follow-up question now, because from what you're saying, that means statistically, you're going to be spread thinner for the county fire departments that have a smaller area, and they would help. But now if you're obligated to help, the odds of an additional event, you'd have to get it covered now, and you're going to be shorter than you were before. So I guess the long story short is, are you going to staff up additional in the Sedgwick County departments to allow for some additional efforts in the field?
So I can give you
Or is it the same?
I can give you a Jesse Miller answer, and then I can circle back to you tomorrow morning. So
Okay.
I know that they
Because
are.
it seems like they might need a few more
few more
people if
bodies.
there's a chance for a more distributed coverage, right?
Sure.
Because the coverage per fire person, right, is less. If you have a bigger area, you got to cover. And how big is this area? Are we talking how many miles away?
So I can get you that answer tomorrow.
Okay.
Just
I'm
an
just
easy
curious
way
how
to think of
big
it.
they're
They
gonna-
are bringing in more, or they have more to be fully staffed, and that is something that they've covered previously. So I can get that to you with.
Yeah, that would be great, because I'm worried that our fire person density is dropping. And I would hope it stays the same,
I can reassure you
even
of
with
that.
additional coverage.
I can reassure you of
Okay.
that. Yeah, they've had that conversation, and that is one of the concerns that has been raised.
Okay.
But the second part of saying, hey, you're going to be stretched too thin, bringing these, various townships in, they have a plan for that.
Okay.
So I
It'd
can
be
give you
great
peace of
to hear
mind tonight.
that.
That's the Jesse answer. But then tomorrow I can send you some material
Alright.
and let you know what we're actually doing.
Thank you.
We're all safe, just so everyone understands.
Okay.
Jesse,
Wait.
just to
Go
follow up. So besides the resolution that you're discussing, was there any other discussions about other consolidations or efficiencies or any other big items that you guys worked on or that you foresee coming ahead?
The other one was, I don't know if you were here or if I brought this up the last time, but we have a new canine. That's pretty fun stuff that they're doing, and it can detect accelerants. So imagine just say a home fire, just use the example. The canine can detect exactly how that started. They're training that one in sunsetting, another one that's going to retirement. So that's some fun stuff there. But other than that, no, this is kind of the serious topic of discussion that's going on now.
I think I saw a news report on the canine, but Yeah, it is.
It's pretty
cool.
interesting.
Yeah, it is good.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting.
Thanks for being here.
Yes, sir.
Jesse, one more.
Yes, sir.
You mentioned mill levy, and so you're expanding your coverage. I guess you're expanding the tax base, but it still won't be as dense a tax base. So we would kind of expect mill levy to go up for that extra coverage.
I can get you that material tomorrow morning.
Yeah, the fire district did reduce the mill levy last year, I believe 1 point. Maybe it was a half point. I don't remember which, but it was either a half to 1 point.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Thanks for being here. I just one quick question. I know everybody's had staffing issues. Where is the fire district at? Are they doing okay on staffing, or do you still have vacancies?
From the last report that was given to us from Chief Williams, that they are fully staffed. So, or we are fully staffed, I should say.
You're on the
I'm on the
steering
team.
committee.
I'm on the team. We're fully staffed.
Cool. All right. Any other questions for Mr. Miller? Well, thank you for the report. We certainly appreciate it. And it's very good information. So
I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
All right, thanks.
move on to citizen concerns. First, we have Mr. David Austin. If you please come to the microphone, state your name and address, and we'll give you 3 minutes to say what you have to say.
All righty. Good evening, everybody. My name is David Austin. I live at 6944 Odessa Court here in Bel Aire. Mayor, council members, thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. And for those of you who do not know who I am, I'm a former mayor of Bel Aire. I've sat in the seats many of you now hold, and I voted for most of you up here. I've even campaigned for some of you, including Mayor Benage when he first ran for council. That was before he later decided to run against me, but hey, that's politics. Still, I never imagined we'd reach a point where Bel Aire races would feel this divisive. I've always believed that Bel Aire's strength has come from being nonpartisan, neighbors first, not political factions. That's why what's unfolded these past few weeks has been so disappointing and has me concerned. Former Mayor Gary O'Neill, a man who has given decades of service to this city, was called to or referred to as a Catholic bigot by our current mayor in a newspaper editorial. Let's be clear, Gary, a veteran, is not a bigot. He simply questioned the ethics and optics of a campaign mailer endorsing 3 candidates who all attended the same church. That wasn't an attack on faith. It was a fair question about perception and transparency. That's something every citizen should feel free to be able to raise. And if anyone's earned that right, it's Gary. This city wouldn't be what it is today without him. He stood up to Wichita when they tried to annex all around us. We wouldn't have half the city that we have today if it weren't for him. For the past decade, through the Lions Club, Gary and his wife Jackie have poured themselves into this community, serving at-risk people with disabilities, at-risk youth, people with disabilities in every school in Bel Aire, including Resurrection Catholic School. Next week, they're going to dedicate a new bench to Resurrection Catholic School. They've donated eclipse classes, run vision screenings, and served wherever there's a need, never once asking about anyone's faith, political affiliation, or background. You know, when I first got here tonight, Mayor and the city manager handed this to me. All about building opportunity, and we were just having some back and forth, and I cannot tell you how excited and happy I am to see some of these numbers, guys. This city's pretty stinking awesome. It's a great community. In fact, my granddaughter and her family just moved here this past weekend into Bel Aire. So tonight, I ask this council and our community to rise above this kind of politics. We are better than name calling and division. Bel Aire has always been about respect. It's even in our city motto. We've been about respect, service, and unity. And I hope we can return to that spirit starting tonight. Neighbors working together for the good of everyone who calls Bel Aire home. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Next, we have Mr. Gary O'Neill. So same protocol, name, address, 3 minutes.
In 3 minutes. Okay. My name is Gary O'Neill. I live at 4967 North Hillcrest here in Bel Aire. I want to thank the mayor and the governing body for allowing me to speak tonight. I want to ask interested citizens to watch on the Bel Aire YouTube channel the citizens' concerns comments I made at the October 21st City Council meeting. On Saturday morning, October 25th, the mayor called me asking for a public apology to the diocese. He said I had made a bigoted statement against the Catholics. At that very time, I was in Lindsborg where my wife and I were putting on the state convention for the Lions. I said if I had offended the diocese, I would apologize. Since then, I have been, I think, I'm not sure, being accused by the mayor and the Bel Aire Breeze of being a bigot against Catholics. My current position is no apology against Catholics until, and the diocese, until I receive in writing from the diocese who I offended and what I have to apologize for. I spoke with Chuck Weber, the executive director of the Kansas Catholic Conference, and Bishop Carl Kennedy, the Bishop of Wichita Diocese, was contacted. Neither knew what I was talking about regarding an apology request by the diocese. If the mayor is calling me a bigot, I want it to be known that I'm incensed and I'm appalled that the mayor would say I'm a bigot towards Catholics. Unless I receive a public apology from the mayor no later than November 16th council meeting and a written apology in the December issue of the Bel Aire Breeze, I will contact my attorneys for a potential slander lawsuit against the mayor for character assassination towards me. I also would like for the mayor to confirm tonight that he paid the Kansas Republican Party, which I think he alluded to in the paper, for this flyer. That the Kansas Republican Party didn't pay for it, the mayor reimbursed them. Lastly, I wish the mayor would learn to spell my last name correctly. It is O'Neal, O''N''E''A''L, not O''N''E''I''L. So Mayor, if you're calling me a bigot, I would like to know at the end of my speech. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you. I'll make that response after I hear from Mr. Lyle Ackerman, who is also on the agenda. Mr. Ackerman. And of course, the same rules. Got to know name and address and 3 minutes for the record.
All right, I'll do so. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members, and staff. I am Lyle Ackerman, and I reside at 4920 North Hillcrest. I have lived in Bel Aire for 56 years. I hope that you would forgive me for reading my statement this evening, but I wouldn't want the mayor's hammer to come down on me because I'm quite a talker, and 3 minutes isn't very much for me, but I will adhere to the rule. I would like to thank all candidates running for council member positions in Bel Aire and hope everyone exercised their right to vote for the candidate of their choice. I am here this evening to attest to the fact that Mr. Gary O'Neal is not a bigot. I have known Gary for over 25 years. I have served on Bel Aire City Council for 10 years, both as a council member and mayor, 4 of those years with council member Gary O'Neal. I am a Catholic and a member of the Church of the Resurrection for over 50 years. Gary O'Neal is my friend, neighbor, and was a supporter of me and David Landau, another Catholic attending Church of the Resurrection, in our run for city council, and again to defeat a recall election to oust 2 Catholic city council members. Was that support by Gary O'Neal for 2 Catholic Bel Aire city council members something a bigot would do? Gary O'Neal is no bigot. Thank you for your time and your attention.
Thank you. So there's been several allegations made against me, and I will address those shortly, and then we'll move on to council member reports. First of all, at no time did I call Mr. O'Neal a bigot, and I think that is in the record of the Bel Aire Breeze. I said the statements that he made last council meeting were bigoted statements. That is not calling him that. That is saying the statement he used is. And that was a surprise to me and to many Catholics. Second of all, and there must have been some misunderstanding, Mr. Neal. I never said the Catholic Diocese requested an apology. I thought that the apology was owed to the people of Bel Aire because they're the ones that were insulted by alluding that maybe the church has undue influence over this council or future councils. And in my 8 years of Bel Aire politics, that has never happened. And it won't happen as far as I have anything to say about it, because we are here to serve the people, the good of all people. That's the will of God. And that is our position. So if you misunderstood my comment to you on last Saturday, a week ago Saturday, I apologize for that, because that certainly was not what what I was asking for, and nor was ever I intended that be the case. And I apologize also for misspelling your name. I don't know how that happened. I'm usually fairly cognizant of that, but in this case, I obviously missed it. So I'm sorry for that. Okay, we'll move on to council member reports, and we'll start with Ms. Hamburg.
Thank you, Mayor. Attended the CCA meeting on October 23rd. We heard from Rebecca Lewis with Burns and Mac, just kind of sorting out some things with the meters in terms of what's being recorded at the lift stations, and then what's actually making it to the plant. And of course, just kind of sorting that out with our new cost of service plan in this kind of trial year where we're getting all the meters set up. Had on my list, the Lions Dinner is this Saturday at Gospel Assembly on North Oliver. So be sure to support them. And last thing, I'm always reminded why I love Bel Aire on Halloween night. Always a good time to get out and see the neighbors. You all never disappoint with your decorations and your hospitality. So had a great night. It was a beautiful night. So that's all I had, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Dean.
Mr. Mayor, I do have a few things. Thank you. On October 24th, I joined a group, they called it a discovery meeting hosted by KDOT and Wilson near Rock and 254. This is Wilson and Company, and their team has been tasked with the study and the design for Rock, Webb, and Greenwich improvements. Mayor actually attended. I'm sure he'll add some things to this too. There was good conversation all around, including local insights as the team gets started with their task. There will be public open house meetings for this effort, similar to the corridor management plan. More details to come on that. I think they actually maybe already have one targeted for January, but I can't remember the exact date off the cuff. On October 28th, I attended the final KDOT local consult meeting that was hosted virtually. After introductions and KDOT's basic information sharing, I participated in the South Central breakout group. K254 was well represented. And I am pleased to report that the K254 and Ohio Street interchange project received high priority in the group discussion and voting, along with other major projects. We again shared the information for our what I've called on deck projects, which are with KDOT, with our information sheet that we put together, which is K254 and River Valley Road and K254 and Butler Andover Road. Again, just to clarify, those are the ones we have identified as the next larger or longer term improvements that we want to advocate for as an association. I don't mean to say that means we can't advocate for other projects. Those are just the two that had been identified as the sort of next ones to kind of raise to the level of KDOT's radar anyway. So that's all I've got. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Welch.
Surprised I'm next. You took me back.
I'm mixing it up.
I do have a little something to say about the election. I just checked in before 7 o'clock with them. Only 300 people from Bel Aire in this district, this precinct, had voted, which was only 10% turnout. I'm very disappointed in the other 90% people. Either they just don't care what's going on, or I don't know what their reason is for not voting. But I think that's a terrible thing to not vote, to exercise your vote. even if it is a local election. And so just a little chastisement there for people. Get out and vote. I don't care what the election's for. You signed up, you registered, go do your duty, vote for somebody. I don't care who it is. I think I've said that before about this election. I care enough to make my choices, but I expect everybody else to get out and make their choices. And if you don't make a choice, I don't want to see you griping on Facebook and every place else that things aren't going the way you want them to go. You should get involved and do something. That's my report.
All right, thank you. Mr. David.
Mr. Mayor, today's the day we've all been waiting for. We get to take down all the yard signs. So please follow the mayor's charter that if you're taking down signs, take down all of them at an intersection. Don't care who they are, just take them down. I'm so looking forward to that. I can't resist just back on the topics that we just heard about. Thank you to all the former mayors for all your service. Just the little bit I've done, I realize what a big job this is. It's what a commitment. So thank you for all that. If there is a perception about Catholics on the council, I just want to point you to national or state or even local, what we heard today, politics, that the Catholic Church, the universal church, does not have unity in their political spectrum. They have wide diversity, and just by saying someone has that name, denomination, just means nothing about their politics. So it shouldn't influence an endorsement or your voting choice or your perception about how the council is run by that name only. I'd also say that we were blessed to have 4 good candidates, yours truly maybe excluded, but I'd like to hope that if that runner-up would still stay involved in Bel Aire. I've mentioned to the mayor that if I'm that person, I'd still like to, I'd like to help on one of the many committees that needs help, like the utility advisory or still help where as needed on CCUA. On that note, CCUA, I missed the meeting last month. Thank you, Councilmember Schmitz, for filling in for me. It looked from the report I read that the influent was still struggling. Our pretreatments evidently aren't kicking in yet, but the plant almost met the new stringent requirements. That's my report. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Mr. Schmidt.
Guess statement.
Yes.
Mr. David said to take the signs down, but I think candidates may want them back. So if you take people's signs down, please find a candidate to drop them off at so they can arrange to get them back to the proper people.
That's what we've always done in the past, but yeah, thank you for the reminder.
If you can't find any place else, I'm going to volunteer at the mayor's house.
Oh, thank you. I've been there before. So Mr. Schmidt.
Yeah, and we'll be picking them up. And if not tonight, we're probably doing it tomorrow. I know some are doing it tomorrow, so we should take care. I don't know about the school board people or some of those others. So
Yeah,
anyway,
we'll get them all.
but it'll be taken care of. So I attended the CCUA meeting. One of the things I picked up from that was they're measuring individually at some of the pump stations and looking at some of the flows and seeing what the consistency is. And then there's allocations on what it is in relation to charges between Park City and Bel Aire. And what's measured individually isn't adding up to what they're seeing at the plant. So they're going to have to use some kind of a percentage, which is probably going to be fine. But that was one thing I noticed. But it's great that we now have what's going on, what the flows are, and then it's really going to be a better allocation of expense versus the use, which is much better than it has been, instead of just a hard allocation, which may or may not have matched up with usage. Anyway, so that's one thing I picked up from that meeting. And then also something I forgot from last time is the sand volleyball cart that was moved from the Eagle Lake over to the Bel Aire Rec. Looks great. I wanted to thank the city team for doing a great job. I was impressed with that. So hopefully we'll get a lot of use out of it, and it is in a place now. It looks like Even the neighbors and everything else seems like it's a good fit. It's where everybody is. There's parking, there's all those things. So it just seemed like it came out well, and it was quite a challenge on what we did with it. So it looks like it came out well. So thank you to the city teams for handling that well. All right.
Thank you. That's good report. So, okay, so we'll move on to the mayor's report. As Ms. Hamburg and Mr. Schmidt had alluded or have stated, that Rebecca Lewis gave a report on the influence coming to CCA from the lift stations of both cities. And while there's still some work to be done, the numbers are looking better. They are making improvement, and that's the whole purpose of this whole year of evaluation, is to get that data and see how things are improving, or if they're improving, and if they're not improving, what are we doing about it? So I did suggest that the cities work together and build synergy on lessons learned, and try to help each other improve, so that everybody can win on that issue. Mr. Schmidt talked about this disconnect between the lift station effluent and the CCUA combined influent, and that's part of the whole process of this whole year of evaluation, is to learn what these kinds of things, and so we can make some intelligent decisions as to how to move forward on charges for high density influent. And so I think we're doing a good job learning some things there. Still some ways to go, but it's all good effort and good progress. The CCA also agreed to a 5-year contract on annual generator maintenance. So we have, I think, 2 generators that run CCA when there's a power outage. It happens more than we realize, and it's good that we have those generators. They do kick in automatically and keep the plants running. So Mr. Dean had said that he had attended this meeting with KDOT and Wilson and Company, and I as well attended that. So I'm not going to repeat a lot about that, but Ms. Dee Ross, who is on our planning commission and also the agriculture member on the K252 Corridor Development Association, attended, and she and her husband Butch have a wealth of information of the area, and they gave a lot of good information on what's going on in there. So we really appreciated that. There will be a public meeting on this proposal in January. I don't have a date yet, but KDOT will call that meeting, and then they'll have a follow-up meeting in May to talk about what the final plan is for this whole section of K254. I was invited on October 28th to attend the Catholic Greater Wichita, or not Catholic, the Greater Wichita Partnership annual meeting. And the Greater Wichita Partnership is a coalition of businesses and government to be a catalyst to ensure the region's economic growth. And since this partnership was created in 2015, there have been about $3.5 billion in regional investments for about 14,500 jobs, and annual payroll of about 730 million. So this is good to get a better understanding of this organization's accomplishments. We invited Bel Aire's 5-member Topeka delegation to a tour of Bel Aire on Thursday, September 6th. Representative Steve Brunk was the only one who committed to attend. We did not hear from the two representatives, but Senators Ty Masterson and Senator Stephen Owens would like to come, but they have other commitments that day. So we've offered them to have another day, but I've not heard it back about any of those opportunities. So the purpose of this tour is to help educate these representatives and senators what the city actually does, so as to help them make better decisions in Topeka. For everyone that learns more about cities, the better chance we have getting better legislation out of Topeka. And lastly, the news has well reported that the federal SNAP program has no money available as of November 1st, last Saturday. And there was an agreement yesterday to fund half of the November's requirement using emergency contingency funds, but that gets SNAP financed through about November 15th. So SNAP provides money for those less fortunate to purchase certain groceries and for their families. Food banks are being overwhelmed. So yesterday, I contacted all the pastors who lead prayer at city council meetings to call upon their congregations to increase increase food support for the poor in light of the federal government shutdown. There was one I have not yet heard back from, but all the others agreed this is an important need and call the Christian community. Bel Aire as a community will be helping in this through various programs with each congregation. So I do urge all citizens of Bel Aire to help in this need through your church, synagogue, or mosque. And let's make sure that we don't have people going hungry because of a political issue going on in Washington, D.C. I'll now ask our city attorney for her report.
Thank you, Mayor Benaj. Last Tuesday, I attended an ethics conference. It's an annual conference. It's very good. They talk about the new cutting edge issues, things to be aware of. And the subject, the number one subject was generative AI. So many people are using it. You can be fast at your work, but there are some considerations that you have to be very careful about. I heard a horrible story about an attorney who was super fast, used AI and submitted it to the court. It included some case annotations which were not accurate. The court case did not exist. Unfortunately, that attorney was not very upfront and honest about what happened, and there were consequences in the end. But there are really great things that come out of generative AI, but it just cannot be relied upon. So I am learning about it. It's supposed to make everyone a lot quicker and smarter, but there's some considerations. The second thing I was going to mention is I told the council last time we were here that the airport hazard ordinance is moving forward. Well, we've taken another big step. The ordinance, the proposed ordinance has been provided to the appropriate staff. Conversations are happening. Everyone is in active review. The question that was posed to me was, will this have to go to the Planning Commission? Well, there is a statute that provides guidance. It's very helpful. It talks about the procedure for the adoption of any airport zoning regulations. Before the governing body makes the decision of whether or not to adopt it, it would go to the Planning Commission first. The Planning Commission will review the material, a report will be provided to the governing body, and the governing body will make the final decision. There will be a requirement for notice of a public hearing, and that notice must be put in the public paper, in the official paper, 15 days prior to the public hearing. So when you receive it, it will have already gone through the Planning Commission. That information will be put in a staff report. The proposed ordinance will come to you, and there will be an accompanying map as well. But I just wanted to give an update. I was posed that question, and I want to make sure you knew that. Thank you.
Thank you. Move on to city manager report.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Just want to update you real quick. I'm sure you saw it on the website or Facebook, but Marty's going to start his guys on the intersection of 53rd and Rock tomorrow to just kind of, again, mill and overlay some spots so that we can get past the winter, get it. And then, as you know, it's part of our 2026 street maintenance program, but it's at a condition where he needs to spend a day with the guys to help. So we're going to close off some access to it, but we'll have flaggers and his whole crew will be there tomorrow. Chamber of Commerce meeting tomorrow. I think a few of you have mentioned it. I'm going to give a speech on where we're at, where we're going, and that sort of thing for Bel Aire. It'll be nice. And what Councilmember Schmitz kind of stole a little bit of thunder. Part of this process of creating a presentation for the chamber is seeing what we did over the past year. And it's hard to think that's what Eagle Lake Park looked like at the start of the year. Of course, we put in a brand new playground and then moved the volleyball court to the rec center, and is actually a really good project for our staff to really just meet the neighbors and understand where that could best be located. We ended up going with a few really enthusiasts of sand volleyball and walked the grounds of a few of our parks and found that location that, as Councilmember Schmidt said, really just a win-win-win for everyone. And in my profession, you don't get many of those. So when you do, you want to highlight them every once in a while. Brian did say within about 3 hours of Marty doing that, there was a group of kids out on there playing. So very exciting. I was able to tour the Public Works facility Monday or yesterday. I'm thinking maybe it's about time, maybe at 6 o'clock before our next meeting, everybody goes out and gets a little tour. Here's the inside. It's a very amazing building right now, so that I almost want to take you to our old building and then we'll go out there to see exactly what we've got going on. But we're really cooking over there, and hopefully by the end of the month we'll get the keys turned over and then start the moving process. Other things, I think as the year goes on, we look at everything we did, and that $2 million of street improvements this year is really something to hold your hat on, and really good accomplishment. On Wednesday, I'm going to talk, or Friday, I think we got a meeting with KDOT, 53rd Street sidewalk. Should have been done, needed to be done. As you know, we got a contract last week. We're trying to get it maybe a little quicker than spring of 2026. We're going to ask the right questions and try to get it done as quickly as possible. The other sidewalk project in our 2019 sidewalk plan is a real big east to west one. I think we haven't talked about in a while, and I think in December we might bring it up to talk about it and just hammer out a few specifics. The rec center, they have a new water line in place. We haven't got the bill yet. Of course, I kind of had to use emergency spending on that, but I'll present that at the next council meeting as our financial policies relate to. Sedgwick County was busy last week. They did a complete mill and overlay of Webb and Greenwich of what they're part of. So it might be come in handy as we go through the agenda tonight. Both Webb and Greenwich were mill and overlaid, at least the county portion. So I thank them for following through on their commitment on that. And lastly, city office will be closed next Tuesday for Veterans Day. So thank you, Mayor.
All right, thank you. By the way, we can't have that meet at the new Public Works building next council meeting.
Oh yeah, we have volunteer.
There are volunteers that time.
Thank
So
you,
have
thank
to
you,
find
Mayor.
another time for
Maybe
that.
the next one.
But
Yeah, it'll be warmer.
Yeah.
yeah,
That's true.
anyway, but I mean, unless we want to do it at 5 o'clock, but
We'll get her scheduled
We'll
pretty soon.
figure that out. I'm sure you'll do fine. Okay. Move on to ordinance resolutions and final actions. The first item is accepting consent to annex from GF Industrial LLC. So the city has received this request, and this is Occidental Management, to annex approximately 140 acres located at the southwest corner of K254 and Greenwich into the city of Bel Aire. And GF Industrial LLC has unveiled plans for a multi-phase industrial development that will include industrial warehouse logistics space and is open to commercial opportunities along K254. The development is expected to bring substantial new investment and job opportunities to Bel Aire and the region. The site's proximity to K254 and Sunflower Commerce Park makes it ideal for businesses. The annexation will position Bel Aire to manage zoning, planning, and infrastructure coordination for future growth in this corridor. The owners, Chad Safford and Steve Lebeda, thank you. Is Mr. Stafford here or just yourself? Okay, they're very good. With Occidental Management here to present and answer questions. So Mr. Lebeda, if you come to the microphone, please, and because this is recorded, and if you're not on the microphone, nobody can hear you. So,
all right.
Thank you.
Do you need my address too?
No, not necessarily. You're
Okay.
not
Yeah.
doing the citizen concern thing. So,
Steve Lebeda, Vice President of Construction Services with Occidental Management. So some of you may know we have already purchased the 92 acres from Sunflower Park there. That's at the northwest corner of 53rd and Greenwich. Kind of behind the scenes, of course, the thoughts of this 140 acres north of that had been in the works. And now that we have that established, it seems, the no-brainer would be to come to the city and talk about annexing it. With the preliminary discussions we've already had with staff on the 92 acres. Of course, a lot of the mains and other things are there. I know Ted went with us with there were some national searches Unfortunately, it went to a different state, but that area has great interest, obviously with the 254 corridor, and we've been watching that and attending some of the information sessions as well, and plan to get even embedded deeper on that. Hopefully, us, City of Bel Aire, and others. We kind of joke, a lot of the industrial users want to make 2 right turns and be there. Everybody's got a 53-foot trailer. So it's great. It's good access now. It can be great and safer, as everybody knows. So we definitely want to work with the City of Bel Aire and others to work as close with KDOT to make sure that we at least have as much influence on what we can do there. But no, with our preliminary work that we've done on the 92 acres, and I do want to make sure you guys know and commend your staff and Ted. You guys are very welcoming, more of a solution base. What can we do? We've discussed the private and public partnerships that are available here with the city, as far as whether it's a benefit district of mains, working some of our access roads, et cetera, through specials. And we plan to see you guys again through any kind of incentive such. We'll want to talk about our IRBs and everything, but basically things that you guys have laid out, done for others. And we kind of pride ourselves on that. Not like I call it, we don't ask municipalities to build a road to nowhere. We've, and not necessarily to name the other cities to compare, but at Wichita, the Union Station project we did, it was a pay-as-you-go TIF, and we actually volunteered and said, we want to do a pay-as-you-go TIF. So if we don't create the tax base, we don't get any money back, versus we don't ask them to go bond out a bunch of money, hand it to us, and hope we do something. Same thing, we've got 80 acres up in Newton that we've started developing on. Same thing, we've got a developer agreement, but the city will do certain things after we've made certain triggers. Some of the simplest is we bring a building permit to do this, and we had private X, and you've got some public streets. Well, you'll put that piece in there. Again, kind of that, we're not going to ask you to just bond out a bunch of money, hand it to us, or build roads to nowhere. So it's encouraging too to talk with your staff and look at what you guys have already done, and looking to help grow Bel Aire. And so us wanting to then basically create 230 acres of contiguous area that we've laid out and done some pretty good space planning layouts with our civil engineer groups. And we could, as far as maximizing the site, we can get 2 million square feet on this 140, and just sidebar on the 90, we can get 1 million. So there's opportunity there for 3 million square feet and we're open to anything. We're a market driven company, whether it's manufacturing, distribution, store, cold storage, anything. We're not going to try to be just one thing. And so the first step with Ted, we're talking about how we can continue our partnership and what we can do within Sunflower Park with this 140, literally bordering that. It only made sense to come to you, and step one was to obviously get it in the city. And so with that, I don't know if you got other questions or.
I have a question.
Yeah.
It looks like you're planning mostly warehouse type activity, not other types of commercial like restaurants or hotels or.
And that is the primary look. One thing, and this picture shows, Yeah. Oh, do you want to pull up the floor site plan?
Yeah.
That's the 92. Oh, there it is. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So one thing we've discussed, because we wanted to first see what we could maximize for industrial. 254 is running there on the top in Greenwich. So one thing we've discussed is also this corner, whether that could be a commercial site. I know anything that we've discussed as far as kind of a phased development of doing the south portion, and then, we've actually done a layout of what, if that corner area became something more of a commercial type development. So we've looked at that option as well. So I know that same topic we're interested in, then what KDOT is wanting to do on that frontage road, whether they want to do a frontage or backage and things like that. We have discussed with Westar too. There's that large line easement that then actually runs here, or 90 acres is here, as far as even doing some access through that to have some better flow and opportunities to get in and out of our access areas. So been kind of working with all the, looking at what KDOT's doing, talking to the Evergy, and kind of, like I say, right now it's rectangles on a piece of paper, but we did want to, and that's kind of the efforts of the layout we did with our civil, just to see what we could maximize on there for square footage, parking, what that leaves room for stormwater detention, et cetera. So, but yeah, we have discussed and looked at what that northeast corner could also be.
Steve, is there something driving this? Is there a market? Is there already an interested party to build on it?
Actually,
I'm
we've
just
got,
curious.
we've got actually a couple LOIs out. Gary O'Borney, our CEO, and I met with another prospective user yesterday. So yeah, there is a lot of interest. We had a national search again that we were in the running for, and then they chose to go up to Newton. But there is a lot of interest for that area. I do think the accessibility is a great selling point for that. And for us, I know in one of our internal conversations, we were discussing this 140 and about what we've even just preliminary been reviewing with Ted and staff on the 90. And, I told Gary and Chad that, I think it's a no-brainer to come to the city to talk about getting this 140 in the city of Bel Air because of what you guys can provide versus the county, and what some of the availability of working with specials and everything is as well. But just the city's attitude of growth and wanting to see more development of all kinds in Bel Air too. We like to work with municipalities that want to grow as well, or we're kind of stuck not doing anything. So, but yeah, there is, Tyler, there's a lot of interest up in that area. And even on a national level, which is cool. And I think a lot of it is, we joke, but a lot of those people, they want 2 right turns and be there off a highway. So I think it sets itself up for a really nice development up there. So,
Mr. Mayor,
Ms. Hamburg.
I appreciate those comments about there's a lot of NIMBYism out there, and we want to control our growth, but I'm glad that we have that reputation. I appreciate those comments. So I know you mentioned some LOIs and things like that, so I know you can't exactly answer this, but in terms of, how quickly would people start seeing buildings go up what do you see as the timeline from what you know?
Typically the people we've been talking to, they're in that, can I be in 9 to 12 month time frame? So it's really just Now, and we've discussed too, spec build or, if you get a smaller user, you go ahead and build a larger building and then you have that space. And then typically like any development, everybody sees the signs, but once you see the first building, then things start dominoing. And that's another thing too, that we've been talking to Ted and staff about how do we phase it. So again, we don't want somebody to come in there and put 100-mile water loop in for one building. And so to be smart about kind of phase development as well. But, and we've seen everything from people that are interested in, 50,000 square feet to grow to 1 million square feet. So you really do have a large blend of users out there. And this last one we met with, and I can't say a lot, but it's not even what you would think of as a typical just industrial. Like they want 10,000 square feet of Class A office within the space. The other is kind of what they would use. But so there's some interest in that. Of course, they love the idea of a new build, a lot of second generation that you need that kind of building with height. You're getting into some areas that aren't as nice, and they don't quite have the flexibility to get that built to suit. So no, but plenty of interest, and they're the people that then once something would trigger, everybody wants in, usually as soon as possible, but it is kind of that 9 to 12 months from that trigger.
Any other questions for Mr. Labadie?
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Dean.
I do have some comments and then I'll make a motion if we don't have any other comments. So Bel Aire continues to grow. I think this is like the second or third annexation since I've been on council. I think this is the first in a little while though. It's exciting to see more opportunities for development in adjacent to Sunflower Commerce Park. I think the previous councils and mayors that had that vision to build that park and along the K254 highway corridor. Many of you know, we've actually mentioned it a few times tonight. Bel Aire has been very active with efforts along the K254 highway with the K254 Corridor Development Association and partnering with KDOT. I really look forward to seeing more of this come before our body, and looking forward to seeing this come back to us as planning efforts continue to move along. So with that being said, I would move we accept the consent to annex from GF Industrial LLC and authorize the mayor to sign.
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Dean, a second from Mr. David. Any additional questions or discussion? This will be a roll call vote, so I'll ask the city clerk to please call the roll.
Thank you. Mr. Greg David,
Aye.
Mr. Tyler Dean,
Aye.
Ms. Emily Hamburg,
Aye.
Mr. Tom Schmitz,
Aye.
Mr. John Welch.
Aye.
And the motion carries 5-0, Mayor.
Thank you. Move on to item B. I think this is related to the previous item. So this item is an ordinance related to the annexation discussed in the previous item.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Dean.
I move we adopt an ordinance including and incorporating a certain tract of land within the boundaries of the city of Bel Aire, Kansas.
I'll second again.
Motion by Mr. Dean, a second by Mr. David. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Item C, and item C, D, and E, I think are all related. So several residents have been expressing their concerns about particular steep ditch slopes in the Aurora Park development area after the paving and drainage project along Parkwood. In general, a 401 slope is considered mowable. A 301 slope is also allowed in isolated areas. To stay within the existing right-of-way, there are several areas where the ditch side slopes are closer to 2-1. And so the discussion with both Kansas Paving and Garver is that it's been determined that the best way to deal with these steep slopes is to connect the driveway culvert pipes and install area inlets in between driveways to allow for the surface drainage to be collected. And this change order allows the installation of a pipe and area inlets and backfill. The city engineer, Ann Stevens, and Mr. Ken Lee from Garver are here to discuss and answer questions.
Good evening, Council. Kinley with Garver. I just want to give a little background on what has gone on out here, just so you have a little bit better understanding before you make any decisions tonight. And so the situation as it stands right now is the contractor has cut the grades to stay within the right of way. Our original plans actually showed the grading going outside the right of way. We had prepared temporary construction easements to allow that grading. And unfortunately, poor communication on our part, and I'll just say it was a failure on my part to make sure that this was taken care of. We didn't get those temporary construction easements obtained before the construction started. So the homeowners now, they've got these deeper ditches, and when we went to them to get those temporary construction easements that were always planned, there was a lot of frustration and anger. They didn't want to see their properties further impacted. And so in order to keep from cutting into their properties and reducing the space in their property, we had met with city staff and Kansas Paving on site. And that's when the discussion came up to just in these deeper ditches to put these pipes in. And so it's a relatively limited area where we're doing this. You can't do this everywhere. Most of the ditches are too shallow to support this kind of a design. But the whole goal here is to make these ditches where they'd be far flatter. So instead of being where in these steeper ditches where they're going to be 3.5 to 4 feet deep, they'll be closer. They'll be around a foot deep. And I didn't want to create a situation where we had standing water. So we're recommending one of the things that you might have had in your packet was the Insert-A-T. And what that is that in the middle of the pipe, they'll drill a hole in the top of the pipe and they put an area inlet in the top. And that allows us to drain the water in front of the yards so we don't have to worry about standing water along the side of the road. So that's kind of a quick summary of the background is it's one of those things that we had intended for construction easements, but the feedback from the neighbors was very, very fierce that they did not want to see their properties being further impacted and seeing grading going 10 feet into their yard to get the flatter mowable slopes. So the final design will actually be better for these residents in the term of not having these deeper ditches that they have to work about. It'll be safer. You won't have steeper ditches in bad weather to slide into. So it'll provide an overall better environment. I will mention the change order that's being presented here for item C is, I would call it a not to exceed change order. We were talking with Kansas Paving even up to within an hour before the close of business today about the change orders, and we wanted to get moving ahead. So I would view this as a not to exceed change order. One of the things we talked about doing is using more sand and less borrow material because we think we can reduce the price. But we didn't want to hold up the project for 2 more weeks waiting to get a decision. So we'd like to have it considered as a not to exceed change order with the idea that we would continue to work with them to see if we can reduce that price some. It won't be a lot, but if we can even get $10,000 reduction, that's better than nothing. So anyway, I'll take any questions you might have on item C.
Mr. Mayor.
Ms. Hamburg?
It goes without saying, this has been quite the project and quite the unhappy residents. And I know there's plenty to go around. There's utility and weather and just all kinds of things. I don't know how to put this because it was you guys' air, because these costs are going to be stacked on the homeowners specials, correct?
No, they won't. This is a drainage improvement, which is the city
at large
taking it on. And like I said, a lot of the cost is one of those things that we're putting in additional pipe that wasn't planned for. So the final product for those folks will be better in that respect.
Okay. All right. So we're getting a better product. So it was a error on your end, but there's no talk of just cost sharing or a discount because
I'll just say that we've had conversation with city staff that if we need to help on the project, that we're willing to have a conversation I'll say that.
Okay, good.
I don't want to make any specific commitments. I have other people that have to help make
Gotcha.
decisions like that. But in a situation like this where there's a large change order, we'll have a conversation about providing some support on it.
Thanks.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Schmidt,
so is this piping going to be concrete or?
It'll be HDPE like the rest of it. It'll be the similar pipe materials.
That holds up over time?
Yeah, and it'll be placed like they'll place additional sand backfill for backfilling. You have to be careful when you're backfilling the HDPE pipe. So there'll be a little bit more sand brought in for that, and that's part of the discussion is with the price that was quoted to us is bringing in even more sand that they had done and do it as a sand flush and vibrated to make sure you have good consolidated material around the pipe. And I've talked with the supplier, the ADS, the supplier of the pipe, and they don't have any concerns about it.
Okay, good. Yeah, I've been over there quite often, actually, and those cliffs next to the road. Yeah, I don't think I'd
They're
want
not good.
the car to go down in there. I don't know how you'd get out. So this seems like a reasonable, I mean, even if they change the slopes, it still doesn't stop the sheer drop off, but these should help because now you can fill that in and make it more of a reasonable depression off the road. If you went down, it would be just like you said, a foot versus it's 3-4 feet deep.
Yeah,
and your car to go down inside, I don't know, it's wicked.
Yeah. Well,
So, yeah, it definitely is a challenging environment there.
yeah, and the goal there before is there was actually reverse and negative slopes on that pipe, so we designed it to go the full length, and it's just one of those things that, like I said, we didn't do a good enough job communicating that we'd have to cut those ditches back, and then once people realized how much they were going to need to be cut back, there was pushback in that regard.
All right. Yeah, this seems like a reasonable way to improve this situation in a lot of different ways. Thanks.
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Dean.
Ken, I do have a question. Did we visit with, I know you talked about Ann, did we visit with Public Works staff to get their take on maintaining and cleaning out this type of pipe setup versus, say, a regular RCP and inlet?
Marty was actually the one who
Okay.
suggested it.
And then do the residents have an idea of, have we had discussions on this and they visually understand that there'll be a pipe under their ditch and the ditch is going to raise now and they're going to have to mow around a plastic inlet? Like, has that been communicated to the residents? Because I feel like a big part of this frustration with staff, with engineering, with the residents, with council has been the lack of figuring out those types of details. And so has that been presented to the residents, or are we going to approve this tonight and then they're going to be shocked that that was the solution?
I'll have to let Ann speak to that part as far as how much communication has been had. I know that we've talked with one or two of the folks, but I can't say that all of them have been made aware, but I can let Ann speak to that.
At this point, no. The city is still planning on hosting a public meeting or neighborhood meeting
Right.
for those affected by this. However, since we did not get the change order until
Approved, yeah.
today,
Right.
really, we haven't had the opportunity. But it is the intent to get with those residents within the next couple of days.
Perfect. Yeah, I think that'd be good. I feel like we've been chasing this project the entire time. Like, and I would hate to approve this. You know, I guess I get that's a note, you know, not to exceed cost, and we think this is the solution. And then we go and present this to the citizens and they are like, what? Like, and then they don't want it. Like, I get that we can't let them make all those decisions, but I do think we need, with considering the situation, I think we need to get their buy-in on this is the right solution for them as well as us.
100%.
Okay.
It was just a timing issue. We were working on this until 5:30 tonight.
No, I
and we
appreciate
just
that.
didn't have that time to get with them in advance.
Yep, I get that. Thank you, though. And then I had a couple of questions on cost. So I reviewed the change order, and I was pretty shocked, to be really frank. I know the scope. I reviewed that. Help me understand the equipment that is required for this tiny little scope, and if the equipment's not on site. I'm just looking at a couple of the numbers that were in their breakout, and it seemed a little bit heavy to me.
Yeah, and I called and talked to Terry Hacker with Kansas Paving about it because I felt the same thing when I saw those. And a big part of the issue is because it is the plastic pipe.
Was they planning on using crushed rock backfill?
Well, they'll use sand bedding up to at least above the pipe, and then they'll put dirt above it. He told me the reason why it was a higher price, because I agree 100%. It was a much higher number than I would have anticipated. That they were going to have to hand place and hand compact the rock or the dirt rather than operating their heavy equipment for fear of crushing the pipe. So that he said that was a major component for them, is the fact that it has to be hand compacted rather than using heavier equipment. So that was the explanation he gave for me on the higher cost for that compacted fill, because it was significantly higher than I would have estimated it to be.
$100 a cubic yard. It's a lot.
Yeah, and
then-
that's an area where I think the conversation is going to be is let's put more sand backfill, flush and vibrated, and see if we can't cut that number in half and reduce that change order by $10,000 to $15,000 is going to be my hope.
And then my other question was, did you guys price a concrete pipe alternative option to this HDP, or did you just decide we're just doing HDP? Was there any sort of evaluation between those two options?
Honestly, the discussion was using the like pipe, but we could have that conversation with them too, as far as getting the final number on that. That's again, with it coming in so late, it was kind of like, wow, that's more than expected. But
In my experience, obviously the size of the pipe matters, and obviously the outside diameter, all that will matter when you're designing. But when you add in the cost of the additional backfill and some of the things you're talking about with HDPE, it almost ends up being a wash with concrete pipe. In a lot of cases, it depends on size. So anyway, I just wanted to,
it's
if we're going to review it, let's ask that question. And on the mobilization question, I don't know that I got an answer. Like, there was a $25,000 number for mobilization. That is a lot of mobilization costs.
Well,
Do
there's
you have any idea?
the final version of the project. I talked to them because I said that's just too much. There's no way I can take that to council. So it was reduced to 15,000, which is still more than I would like. But what they acknowledged is there was actually two other pipes that they were going to work on that they had hidden into that number. And I said, well, if you're doing that, let's just have that as a separate number. So the last version of that should have an item 7 that addressed two other pipes that were being repaired with the project, or replaced with the project, where they're doing extensions and additional work. So yeah, I agree that when I saw the 25,000, I was like, that's a lot of money for mobilization. And we did have a conversation. So your final version that should have been sent out late today would have been for 15.
Gotcha. All right. Well, thank you for answering that. It helps me understand it a little better. And I would expect if we approve this tonight, that we would have a much, much lower number than this $97,000. I'd almost recommend maybe I will just change the motion and lower that number. Because what I'm hearing is the number that we were given is not the latest and greatest. So maybe.
Well, it is the last number. They still proposed the 97,000. But like I said, we talked. I didn't get a chance to talk to Terry. I called and tried to talk to him before the meeting tonight, and he was busy with other meetings because I wanted to ask him those questions, and I just didn't get the opportunity.
You knew I was going to ask those questions.
Yeah. And it was one of those things that we just don't want to delay the project 2 more weeks if we can avoid it.
And then one final question, and I know this is going to open up a can of worms. What is our alternative? If we deny this tonight and do not choose to do this $100,000 change order for this $800,000 project, and maybe Ann's the best to answer this, what is the alternative to not doing it?
Well, my thought would be is to try to reach back out to those property owners and ask them. And I'm not sure that they wouldn't come back and say, well, if you're taking my land, I want to be paid. So I don't know that there's really going to be a significant cost savings just based on the feedback that I got when we told them, hey, these easements that were planned, they were shown in the plans. We showed them the plans, and they were very frustrated by that. So the alternative would be to pursue that route, and just based on the feedback, and Ann can attest to the emails that she was receiving in the days after that discussion, it was very negative.
So it seems like it would be a good assumption that it definitely would take more time, and potentially likely more cost. I just want to try to understand both sides of this change order or not.
And kind of like Ken said, I mean, the option is if you don't take the change order tonight, we can certainly wait, try and negotiate with Kansas Paving, which Ken has alluded to. Some of the costs do seem to be a little on the higher side. But if we're not doing this change order and piping the ditches, closing in the ditches, then we don't really have much of a choice than to leave the ditches. If we can negotiate with the property owners to get additional space on their side, that's one option. But again, the ditches are still there. It's still going to be fairly steep from the roadway to the flow line of the of the ditch. So I really hate bringing change orders when there's really no options. But that's kind of where we're at.
Seems like the best option.
And
though.
it's the pipe that we were told is like an 8 to 15 day lead time. We tried to get prices on just the materials for the pipe. So we were thinking, if it's under Ted's spending authority, then maybe we could just buy the pipe and get that started. Unfortunately, I never did get any reach back from the pipe supplier on those material costs. So we're kind of stuck in a rock and a hard place. And it's been as Emily can attest, as the mayor can attest, there's been a lot of heartache and frustration, not only on significant on the residents' parts. They're driving in and out every day, multiple times a day, but also the city. We've all been getting phone calls and emails and frustration, and we're doing the best we can to try and communicate. But when you don't have the information, it's hard to communicate. And I don't want to communicate half truths or any information that has not been vetted and thought out. And I hate bringing this to you tonight because it's not, as I would say, it's not really complete. We haven't completely vetted it. We haven't gone through and tried to negotiate with it because we just haven't had the time. But we're getting, we're already in November, we're pushing towards winter season and trying to get all of this done for the residents as soon as we can. That's really been the time crunch.
No, that makes sense. Thank you for helping explain it out.
One more, I guess. I guess it's obvious, but 6 and 7 will have to go with 5, right? And so it's really $122,000 bill.
They're actually completely separate items.
Okay.
So I'll cover those separately, but they're completely separate from this. So you don't have to tie them together.
Okay. And you really think it's cheaper to add this or similar costs to add this versus just expanding the ditch, buying more land? It seems like the homeowners would want to work with us on that.
You would think, but if you heard the phone calls today and God, I don't know that I don't know that they share your enthusiasm on that. They're looking at it as the city's taking their property.
Well, I guess the other way to look at it is I'm not sure why the whole city should have to pay for this problem. That's really not the city's problem. It wasn't caused by the city.
Just like I said, we were trying to eliminate the low spots, and so that led to deeper ditches. And so, this will be a good solution to it once it's done. They'll be happy with the solution when it's done. But I know the deeper ditch is just the safety aspect of it. I know there was people concerned about trying to mow down into it. So.
I hate to ask this question out loud, but to Tyler's point, and with discussion about the air on your side and maybe some discount, and it's not finalized, you talked about just maybe lowering the not to exceed amount. In terms of negotiations, would you recommend a special meeting? Like we had to have a quick Zoom meeting, just council said this is just too expensive. Do you have any recommendations on how we might best move forward for dealing with them for pricing?
One more time, Emily. Sorry.
Just in terms of our options, we can just approve these numbers, knowing that hopefully they go lower. But once we approve them, they don't have to go lower. Tyler talked about just lowering the not to exceed price or just calling a special meeting. What do you recommend we're talking about this on TV, but from a negotiation
Sure.
standpoint?
So one thing I think we all want is this project to get done.
Right.
And that's what we're really focused on. If we do approve Ken, I'm sure we'll negotiate pretty hard to try to get this price down. We know it's not the best. I'm going to work hard to try to get it down. the main focus is to get this project completed.
I know
Yeah.
it seems like we're writing a blank check. That seems like the idea of bringing the not to exceed down makes you negotiate.
There is an option that I just thought of, and I apologize to Ken for not running this by him first, but thinking back to the Woodlawn project, we had a few occasions where we had change orders that we thought were too high or were not necessarily worth it. And KDOT offered an option where they call it a force account. And you basically have somewhat of a blank check. You have a very defined scope of what needs to be done and when, and the folks on site track every single person that was on site, what their job was, what they were doing, how long they were on site, as well as every piece of equipment, all of the material that comes on site, et cetera. That's another option. I don't know. I'd have to get with Maria to weigh in on, whether our contract even allows for that, or if we're kind of stuck with the options of this negotiated change order. Ken's itching to speak, but it's just something that I thought of and probably shouldn't say it off the cuff, but it is kind of another option or a method that can be used to track change orders.
And talking about, obviously, we just want this project over and some nice weather and get it done. What is the time frame with this change order? I didn't get to read every page of this before the meeting.
Well, at this point, the only thing that I can say for certain is that it's 10 to 15 days for the delivery of the materials. I know we talked with the contractor, and one of the requests that Dan has had that we haven't received back yet was a proposed schedule. So they've not given us their proposed schedule yet, but we do know that we were told 10 to 15 days to get the material delivered to the site once it's approved.
Well, and I could be reading this wrong, but I think it said an additional 10 days were requested for that change order. And then I think each of the other 2 are 5 extra days. So I assume that's their request of days. We just don't know when they would start.
Yeah, correct.
Okay. Just to clarify that.
And Tyler, one of those change orders did have 10 working days. I don't remember if that was 6 or 7. I think it was 7, but 10 days, 5 days, and 10 days.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying that.
So finally, my turn.
Mr. Welch.
First, I want to express my deepest disappointment with this process. We've had lots of time to look at this. Now we're putting in pipe when we were told we couldn't put in gutters because we didn't have enough drainage, which tells me that we got a really deep hole. I don't know why we didn't have enough drainage if we can put pipe in. So anyway, next question. Why is the pipe going to work if we don't have if we couldn't do gutters? And how strong is this pipe since you're putting it close to the surface? What kind of weight's it going to be able to bear if somebody drives across there? A garbage truck backs up across there, a guy with a pickup load of firewood, just how much weight will it take before we collapse that pipe and we have to dig it all up and fix it? Since you're concerned about putting it in because it's fragile.
Well, part of the process is to put a cover over the top of it to spread that load, where the placement of the material has to be done carefully. But once you get the extra load over it, it dissipates the load. There's a triangular load distribution whenever you put loading on dirt, so it'll spread that load to some degree. I don't think that's as big a concern. Obviously, if a fully loaded garbage truck hit the wrong spot and hit right on the inlet, it could break the inlet. I mean, that's always a possibility, but that's also fairly unlikely to occur. But yeah, I mean, there's a possibility of that. The rest of the pipe, that's the whole point, is to place enough fill above it to provide some stability.
So, but it looks like we're only talking about a few inches. How many inches are we talking about of fill to do that?
To the top of we're going to have more like 1.5 feet to 2 foot of fill, depending on the pipe. On the one side, it's only a 12-inch pipe, so it'll actually have 3 or 4, probably 3 foot of fill on the one side.
I haven't driven out there, and that's my mistake. But how deep is all of that ditch? Why couldn't we have not put a pipe down the whole ditch or put a gutter down the whole ditch to handle this instead of doing something like this?
Well, when you get into the gutters and the storm sewer, I mean, we did look at that, and when we priced out trying to put storm sewer on the whole project, it was going to add like $700,000 or $800,000 to the project. So, I mean, this is not great. I'm not happy about this either. But to do full storm sewer and curb and gutter on this project would have been easily $800,000 more. It would have been significantly more expense.
Okay, well, to me, an uneducated person, that looks like storm sewer. It may not be 3 feet deep storm sewer, but it looks like storm sewer.
Well, and as I said to start with, this is only in the limited area with just, there's only a 4 lot area that this is applicable to.
Okay,
All the
so-
remaining lots on that site will have open ditches because they're not deep enough to do the pipe treatment the whole way.
Okay, so I live in the house that's not going to get the pipe. My yard's going to look cruddier than his yard. Now I'm not happy about that. You know, why do I have an open ditch when Jim's looks nice and smooth and
Well, they'll have mowable ditches, and that's the goal at the end of the day.
well, the residents have not been happy with this. I'm not happy with this, and I don't think they'll be happy with what this looks like after you get done, just because it's not consistent down through the
I
whole
can't predict
project.
the future on that, no. And yeah, I'm going to just say again, I'm not happy with the way this project has gone. Our project manager that was working on this project, I was specifically told to take them off this project and not have them work on it anymore. So I've taken it over and I'm working on it now.
Mr. Smith?
Mr. Mayor, I think we fill in, I've been there many times. Yeah, those ditches are wicked. So some kind of way to fill it in, if we can do it with a lot lower cost, whether you use concrete or whatever, I think that's the right way to go. Yeah, it's unfortunate, it's the situation it is, but it is. And not an easy way out of it. Anyway, so I hope we can do something to alleviate those ditches, because I think that's going to be scary, especially if somebody's turning the corner and then they go down in, because you won't get out without a wrecker.
Well, that was part of the whole thing of redoing the ditches. Was we already had a bunch of deep ditches.
They did. Well, it's worse now.
So the parts that aren't even getting paved were already having that problem. And
Yeah. Yep, so it's notable now. Okay, thanks.
Again, the discussion tonight, the idea tonight, and obviously you'll want to do what you think is the best decision here, is the idea of going with the not to exceed amount would be allow us to keep the project moving forward without delays, because that's one of the big complaints is the project is never ending. So we're trying to keep moving forward so we can get it to the finish line and do what we can, working with city staff to get that price down as much as we can. So that's where that recommendation was coming from.
and this work is required to complete the pavement.
I would not recommend doing this work after the surface course is put on, because the good thing now is since they don't have the surface course on, they can do the work. If they have minor marring of the pavement, it doesn't matter because it gets covered up with the surface course. If you finish the asphalt and then you bring heavy equipment on it and you damage the surface, you're going to deal with it for the rest of the time you have it. So that's why we want to get it done now if we can.
Have we been in discussion with the asphalt plants when they're going to be shut down?
Yeah, that's been part of the discussion with Kansas Paving, is trying to get things moving forward. And I don't have a specific date on that, but Kansas Paving produces their own asphalt.
Yeah, but you're looking at 10 or 15 days to just get materials, and then you got work time. So you're looking at end of November at the best.
I think you're real close, given the current forecast of 21 degrees next Wednesday.
And just to be just blunt and honest about it, there's a good chance that they'll get all the grading done. They'll get the concrete put in, and it may be that spring before they put that last 2 inches of asphalt on it. That could end up being the situation where, other than the asphalt, everything is complete. That's a possibility.
So the intersection is coming up, I assume, which will be concrete. Is that right?
Yeah,
Okay.
and I know Ann was asking them for an update on when they would get that concrete poured, because that needs to be done before the surface course goes on anyway, just the nature of
Right.
the way that's done.
Absolutely.
It needs to come in first anyway.
Okay.
So Ken, I know I brought up the idea of lowering the not to exceed number. What is your feeling on that? Like, so the numbers I'm looking at are 25,000 for mobilization, 23,000 for fill. Before we decide to motion and vote here, do you have any feelings on if we lower that number?
So, like I said, I talked to them and asked them why they had that much in mobilization. And there's two other pipes that there are actually being reworked, and that was $10,000. So the final form of that, yeah. So looking at, sorry, I gotta get my brain on straight here now. The numbers that this pipe here and this pipe down here are the two extra pipes that they had included in their price that they had not broken out separately. And so this pipe here, that one there, they're going to be extending that one longer to get it to match into the ditch grading that was done out there. On our plans, we had called that to be remove and reset, and they did remove and reset it. And they didn't, when they did that, it ended up being that the ditch ended up being a little steeper. So they're going to add an extension on that one. So anyway, they had those two extension prices. So that's why it's now 15,000 for the mobilization, and then 10,000 for the other pipe extensions, and then the other price for the dirt work. Like I said, my biggest concern looking at the numbers, that the $100 a cubic yard, I did ask Terry about that, and he said it's because it had to be hand placed. So our intent is to go back and say, hey, can we split that number in two, do like 130 yards of dirt and 127 or 107 yards, or yeah, 100. I don't have the numbers in front of me now, but the 107 or whatever yards of sand, do more sand that's backfilled, because if we can do that at a lower price, if we can save, $10,000 just in dirt work. I mean, that's $10,000 in savings. So as far as my recommendation would be is to let city staff work that out rather than trying to pick that number. Gotcha. Because trying to pick that number is going to be challenging. So it's 237 yards of total earthwork and sand. So the idea would be maybe have 130 yards of dirt and 107 yards of sand, something like that. But work that out with the contractor to try and reduce price. So trying to pick a specific number is going to be a challenge, because I don't know what that exact number is going to end up being.
Yeah, what I'm hearing is this detailed breakdown that they provided isn't correct. There's further breakdown that you're describing that makes up some of the numbers. That's what's making it confusing for me, I believe.
Yeah,
So.
and again, it was a late. They sent a revised version of this very late today, and it didn't get a chance to get updated into your packet. So as far as the exact number, I can't tell you what number to pick on that at all.
Well, I agree that the whole project's been frustrating, and I would like to lower that, but it seems like for the benefit of finishing the project and hopefully moving it forward quickly so that we can hopefully finish it this year would probably be our best bet, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, as far as preventing any further delays, yes.
I'm going to throw out, I think we should listen to Emily with the idea of tabling it until we have more formal numbers, and call a special meeting, which could be held via Zoom or whatever, to approve this. There's just too much unknown right now. And I don't want to approve a big number and then have them say, well, gee, the council said they'd be willing to spend $100,000. We don't see any reason to lower our price.
Was that a motion?
It could be.
I do want to make one point of caution here. And I'm not saying that that's not an appropriate action, but if we delay this, in that we would delay ordering of the pipe. And so we delay that issue as well. I would rather maybe suggest that we authorize the ordering of the pipe and call back a special meeting. It can be Zoom if we want, to settle on the final price.
I don't want to do that either, because if they
Can,
decide that another pipe might work better, then we've got that pipe that we've agreed to pay for.
Can you clarify the change order number 5 is not the one, the newest one? Because we were working on it.
Yeah.
I'm missing a change order
So
pricing.
Yeah, and Chris sent it to Ann and I, right, I don't know, it was some between 3:30 and 4:30. I don't remember the exact time. But
Wait a minute, we talked at 4.
yeah, and they might have sent that during the meeting is what might have happened there. But I can look at it and see if I can figure that out as well.
Okay,
But
to Mr. David's point, I'm going to motion that we table items C, D, and E until we have a better understanding of the true costs. And at such time, we call a special meeting to address this.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Mr. Welch to table and a second by Mr. David.
Mr. Mayor, can I ask a question before we vote?
Yes, certainly.
D and E, just to have your thoughts, are those entirely separate? Could be worked separately and moved forward, or do all these need to be approved so the work can move forward?
D and E are completely separate items.
So why would we-
They're not in any way related to
Okay.
item C at all.
Okay, so we wouldn't have a reason to table those. We could potentially move those forward.
Yeah, I mean-
Sounds to me though, like if we do D and E, they're going to want to do mobilization charges that they thought were included in C.
I think they're priced
So-
separate from what I can tell.
Let me look at my notes here. Let me look at something real
They had
quick.
3 separate prices or 3 separate mobilizations from what I see in these documents.
So,
And again, you're questioning that price, so
I guess I'll just say this. I wasn't even thinking about those other items until we finished the item C. When I was making any of my statements, it was all about the change order number 5, 97,000. And I had not gotten to the discussion on those others. So I don't feel comfortable voting on anything for those other 2 items in this motion. We'll just say that.
I'll just say item 6, change order 6 had its own standalone mobilization on that one. Item 7 is probably tied in. It does not have a separate mobilization included in the number. So that one it's a separate issue, but whether or not they would try and use it as an excuse to put different mobilization, I can't answer that. But definitely item 6 is a completely standalone item.
Mr. Mayor.
Ms. Hamburg.
yeah,
So-
Ms.
I'm
Hamburg.
sorry, Emily.
Oh, you're fine. I just wanted, so what is the time frame? How quickly do you think, I don't have a crystal ball, but like in terms of negotiations, do you think by the end of the week, we'd have a firm answer?
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to think by the end of the week we would have that answered. We made a lot of progress today, but again, it was just disappointing that they had the information for a week and a half, and it took them till this morning to get the change orders in, and so then we started discussing it more with them at that point.
Okay, then I'll make my comment. You keep talking about change order numbers and we keep talking about agenda items, and there's not a clear match going on there because
Sorry, so
item E is not change order 6.
so
Seven.
change order 6 would be item D. My apologies.
So just to clarify that, the item C is change order 5, item D is change order 6, and item E is change order 7. So that's just for clarification. But I don't believe that you can act on any of these unless you act on all of them, because there's pipe in change order 6. I think there's pipe in change order 7. I'm sure they got a price on the pipe based upon the package, and if you start splitting it out, then that changes the price. I don't see how you can do that. And so I kind of agree with with the motion that's on the table. That's just my comment. Ms. Sharp.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I know that all three motions relate to the same project, but they all have different specific subjects. So as for parliamentary procedure, it would be best if the governing body wants to table, they would take on one item at a time, motion to table, then the next item, and then the final third item.
Better or required?
I would say required with our, how we've decided to move with the rules of order, please.
Okay, because we already had a motion and a second is why I'm.
Yeah, we've got an active motion on the table. We need to, we'll have to act on it one way or another, but I appreciate that input. So I don't, we can work on that, or we can have more discussion about these things if you.
Okay,
either way.
under advisement from the city attorney, I will motion to table
Well,
item C
Hold on, you already have a motion, active motion on.
to revise
on-
my motion to be
You want to revise your
table
motion?
item C.
Okay, so you're now
And then I
revising.
need,
I'll second the revision.
okay,
Okay, so now we're only have the motion on the table because we revised this motion to only item C. And we have a motion by Mr. Welch to table item C. And that motion is made by Mr. Welch and a second by Mr. David. Any other questions or discussion there?
So,
Only related to item C.
So supporting this motion, it's understood that we could put a Zoom meeting together in time. I mean, I know we need to have 24 hours notice?
Special meeting. Let me look. That real quick. There is no requirement for a certain 24 hours. If the council chooses to have a special meeting, the notice needs to be made as soon as you know it. It would require the 3 signatures of 3 members. And then we would be required to do notice in compliance with the Kansas Open Meetings Act.
Okay, does that satisfy your request?
So basically, as quick as we could get 3 signatures. Okay.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay, if there's no other questions or discussion, the motion on the table is to table item C. And I'll call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? No opposed. That motion carries 5-0. Move on to item D.
I'll make a motion to table item D.
Motion by Mr. Welch. Is there a second? If there is no second, that motion will die.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Dean.
I do have a comment. So I did look at the document for change order 6. It looks like there's a separate MOB, there's a RCP storm sewer and end section, and it seems to be an entirely different material.
Okay.
If we approve this, I'm just asking a question more.
I need to decide if we're going to have a second on this motion or if it's going to die.
I thought
Okay.
you already called it dead. Sorry.
I'm sorry.
I thought you said it was dead.
Well, not yet. If somebody
Well,
wants to
if there's no
second
second, it is dead. Okay? So I will call this motion dead.
it. Okay.
Okay, go on with your
I was
question.
just clarifying with Ken that to me, it appears like the pipe material is different. Just wanted to clarify that if we prove this, that we believe that would be the right thing to do.
It's my understanding that item D, change order 6, is in no way tied to the other work that's on the other part of the project. And so it can be accepted without having any impact on those other items.
Mr. Dean, are you comfortable with that mobilization charge then? Because that's part of what we were complaining about on item C.
Yeah, it's not as, this item standalone with the RCP pipe, the end section, and that mob isn't a big deal for me personally. But I was clarifying, this is RCP pipe. That pipe we were talking about on the previous is a completely different pipe material, which had that wait time, so it's a little bit different situation.
And this is a situation where there's an existing pipe out there. The existing pipe and ditch were not changed right where this was at, but it's a situation where everything else in that area has been flattened out, smoothed out, and it looks much better now. And so that pipe stands out as being a steep ditch. So the goal here would be to move that pipe over to the east to allow the slopes to be reworked and regraded in that area so it would be flatter and more comparable to the other ditches. So it was our goal to save some money on that to start with, but in hindsight, with everybody looking at it, they're like, why is that ditch so steep now? It's like, well, it's always been that steep.
Yeah.
So
This is an improvement to what was there.
So this is just to improve what was there.
Well, that mobilization order is about 30% of the total cost just to get a piece of equipment there.
Yeah.
That I
again,
think we could fold into the other one if we do D and E at the same time, or C and D at the same time.
It's two different contractors. That's why it's a different mob fee, because Donlinger would be doing that work, not Kansas Paving. So they have their own mob fee that's separate from the work being done over on the other project.
Okay, why can't we use the same contractor for both?
Because Donlinger's their sub. Kansas Paving doesn't install pipes, so they don't have the ability to do it.
do you know, Ken?
The pipe was on C. You're confusing me here because they're both installing pipe. Change order 5 and change order 6.
I was told that was a standalone project. I mean, we can ask them. That can be part of the conversation. If you wanted to table it, we can have that conversation.
That's why I want to table these, is we don't seem to have enough information to make a good decision. It may be this is the right decision, but we don't have enough information to know that, is my opinion.
Yeah, and to what Tyler said, as far as that change order, the numbers that they put forward are pretty typical for that kind of a change order. So we didn't see anything out of line with that one.
Well, and that's right back to, though, I think if you combine two of these, we ought to get a lower mobilization charge. And then you're telling me it's two different contractors, but they're both putting in pipe, so that sounds like it's the same contractor.
So Donlinger is doing the plastic pipe on the other project too. I don't know that it's the same crew. I don't know enough about their crews to be able to say it's the same crew that does RCP versus plastic pipe, because some of those companies, they do have different crews that do different work.
Part of my thinking on this is if we could, if we're going to have some time wait, it would be nice to have some progress happening. If this is what you're considering a separate task and it wouldn't, it could move forward while we're trying to work through all these other things, that just makes sense to me that maybe we would approve this one to move it forward. But that's kind of my line of thinking on it anyway. And 7, just looking, the change order 7, which is our next item, is kind of similar. It looks separate. It looks like it's a separate scope.
Yeah.
But anyway. Well, I'll go ahead and move us forward here. We'll see what happens. I move we accept change order number 6. It looks like this motion was written kind of awkward because it has number 5 in there.
Yeah.
It is number 6.
Number 6 for paving and drainage improvements to Parkwood and 40th, and alternate number 2 in Aurora Park ditch improvements to serve Bel Aire in an amount not to exceed $13,135. Being paid by the city of Bel Aire for deferred maintenance on storm sewer ditches, and authorize the mayor to sign.
I'll second it.
A motion by Mr. Dean, a second by Mr. Schmidt to accept the change order number 6. Any additional questions or discussion?
Mr. Mayor.
Ms. Hamburg.
Okay, if I'm reading this correctly, change order 6 is not at Parkwood and 40th.
It's the name of the project.
Just the
under
whole,
the contract.
under the whole contract.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a different section of, I think there's a map there that shows where it is. Can you point out on the map where this change order 6
Okay.
is?
Yeah,
It's this one. right?
That's
It's
the
over there.
project name, not the actual
Gotcha,
location.
okay.
So it's the intersection of Batten and Harding.
Right.
Okay,
Thanks.
those are steep. Yeah. Okay, is there any questions or discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries 4-1 with Mr. Welch. Nay. Okay. Move on to item E. This is regarding change order 7. And the motion has been typed wrong as well. It's got the same typo in it.
Well, it's not the same typo because it's now change order 7 instead of
Okay.
6.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. David,
I'll motion to table change order number 7.
Oh, I would have been actually ready to vote for that one. I mean, it's just grass and a little bit of grading. It's not.
I'm going to second it because I have questions.
you want to second this motion, Ms.
Yes.
Hamburg? Okay. Okay, so we got a motion by Mr.
We got a motion by Mr. David to
David
table.
to table and a second by Ms. Hamburg. And so time
So,
for discussion.
Councilmember David, is it because there's not the mobilization costs?
I
On
thought
this one?
this was tied to 5 for previous discussions.
Okay.
Okay. It's a good question.
So is that in fact true? Because you're
So
doing
I-
some seating and such here.
When we asked for these costs, we did not ask for them to be tied directly to one another. So I can't say if they are or are not tied together, those two. I can't say definitively, but when we asked for these quotes, it was not, if they were all part of one change order and all tied together, they normally would be part of a single change order and not presented separately. So given the price, I believe they have sufficient money in there to handle that mobilization, but I did not have a specific conversation with Terry Hacker from Kansas Paving about that fact. So I can't say for a fact how he would react.
Could be tied.
Well, 7. Change order 7.
5 and 7 could be
Yeah,
tied.
5 and
On
7.
6,
We did
they
not.
couldn't be.
6 is completely separate, different area, and we had asked for that price at a completely different point in time where it was not tied to the other two specifically. 5 and 7, again, in a vacuum, I would say it's standalone, but it is one of those things since it doesn't specifically include mobilization. I mean, I get the concern.
Okay, so I just looking at the map here and I pulled it up on my screen because I can't read the detail up there, but change order 7 is an additional ditch grading on what looks to be between two properties on the west side of Parkwood. And it's not anything to do with any of the other work that's being proposed here. Am I reading that correctly?
So it's actually the drainage ditch. There's an easement that ditch drains through. And so it's the city's drainage ditch is why this was being proposed. And the residents requested that it be considered is because it is the ditch that drains the rest of the street through their property.
Right. But it doesn't, it really is not related to 5 or change order 5 or change order 6 because it's really a different area.
Yeah, it's a
in the same project.
standalone element in itself, correct. And they have not done their final grading on the site. And we had a little bit of that ditch grading called out just to clean up the outlet that has not been completed. This is an extension of that grading essentially.
And this is basically a drainage to the pond there.
Correct.
That's what that's doing. Okay.
Correct.
So it's that red bar at the top of the screen?
Yeah.
Red bird top.
So it's going between two houses to drain water off of the street into the north end of the pond.
The horizontal red line there is that ditch. The ditch between these two lots here.
So that's all that change order is to do is to take care of that ditch and it's not related to
up.
the others at all. Okay.
Yeah, and it's outside of the scope of the rest of the project, so we didn't have it
Just-
included, but the residents brought it up during the other discussions that, hey, the water spreads across their yard because of siltation. Over the years, the water is just, the dirt's built up and the ditch has been filled in over the years, so it's kind of spilling into their yards.
Okay.
Should the city
so-
crew just deal with that? Isn't that what, don't they do things like that with those ditches? It's not an abnormal ditch. I've seen it. There's some reason the city can't just handle that one. I'm surprised we're doing a change order here.
That is
seen the
something
ditch.
that I'm going to preface this by saying I have not talked to Marty, but
Okay.
that is something that they can do. They don't have the equipment to make it look as nice as Kansas Paving does. But it would be something that they could do. It's probably not going to happen this year because we'd want to, I personally never like two contractors or two entities on the same project at the same time, because then there's always questions and finger pointing.
Sure.
But that's probably something that they could do. We would need to have some assistance with surveying and laying it out so we get the proper grade from one end to the other. And then there would be the expense of any reseeding or sodding that was necessary.
Okay.
But I will say, reiterate, as Ken had mentioned, they did have 50 to 100 feet of that ditch regrading already in the plans. So this would just be the continuation
Extension of it.
of that.
All right.
One thing that got brought up there was seating. I mean, we're kind of already
Yeah, I
past
kind of
the
missed that.
ideal window for that. I assume that restoration of the whole project and touch-up seating and all that is probably a next spring thing at this point.
Realistically, yeah, the final seating will end up needing to be a next spring thing at this point.
So maybe tabling this one doesn't have any harm, no foul at all, because we need to figure it out, and we probably aren't going to do that work until later anyway. I don't know, just food for thought.
Maybe we'll have more knowledge in a week when that special meeting's called.
Yeah, there's not a rush on this one. Nice to have.
Okay. So the motion on the table is to table, or the item E, made by Mr. David and seconded by Ms. Hamburg.
Okay, my statement on that is I think we should go ahead and do this one since it's just extending something they're already doing.
Okay, so we have this motion. So I'm going to call a vote for this motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Motion will carry 4-1.
Your
Okay,
time.
thank you. And so don't need an executive session, but we do need to kind of say, when are we going to have this special meeting we need to have to reconsider items C and E?
As soon as possible after we find out what the true cost is going to be. We get final costs.
That's kind of where a little direction. I know Ken mentioned there was another change order out there. It's the same total, just basically detailed at, instead of mobilization costs, they transferred that 10,000 down to the two pipes that we pointed out on the thing. So really what we're talking about now is us going to Kansas Paving and asking for a lower cost. At what point do I call a special meeting or ask to call a special meeting? You see what I just need a little direction from the council, I guess, with that.
What I think that was pretty clear to me is that we need to have a fully vetted change order proposal, that we know what you're going to do, what needs to be done, and what the price is, and what the timing is. And if anybody has any other comments about that, please say so. I mean, that's what I'm hearing.
That's helpful. Ken, you or Ann, do you have any comments on that? As far as it's hard when we've been asking for a week and get it
I know.
at 4:30. So I don't want to commit to something that is unreasonable.
Well,
And
yeah,
I would
I'm going to
echo-
comment on that because I just noticed this afternoon that these changed, and that was very short notice. I don't think we should have rushed these through. I know you wanted to get it done before another 2 weeks went by, but it's just, I almost missed that these were going to be on the agenda, which I would have not had any chance to even look at them.
Sure, and I do apologize. Like as I mentioned before, it's just I know this neighborhood wants this done as quick as possible. That doesn't mean we need to make a bad decision. I agree, but that is the sole purpose, is to get this project completed.
Yeah, I agree with the neighborhood. I'd like to get it done as fast as possible too.
Kind of like Ted had said earlier, we've been working with Kansas Paving for the last week and a half. Between myself and Ken, they have been emailed and phone called Thursday, Friday, Sunday, or Thursday, Friday, Monday, and again today, trying to get these change orders. And we got it late today. I apologize for the lateness and kind of trying to get this pushed through as quick as possible. But like Ted had said, it's kind of a balancing act. Do you listen to citizens? Do you listen to council? You kind of try and figure out which way is possible. My suggestion would be to kind of wait, and Ken, myself, and Ted will work with Kansas Paving and see if we can't get a meeting in person and in the next couple of days and try and get a better answer for you. I think we know the exact scope of the change order. It's just getting it in writing and getting Kansas Paving to put some numbers to it that are a little bit more realistic than what was presented today.
So we just want to let staff tell us when you're ready.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can we shoot for no later than Monday?
We can
If
shoot.
it doesn't work, it doesn't work, but I mean.
Yeah, I'm thinking no later than Monday. Yeah, I'd really like Friday, if possible. That would be my desire.
Well, Tuesday's a holiday, and I would be willing to work Tuesday to pass this if that's the day we need to do it.
Okay. So
Again, the biggest challenge is just going to be making sure that we answer the questions about, is concrete pipe going to be, would there be enough savings by going to concrete to justify that change? And then also the question of the fill. I do want to say that the price wise, I don't know that the biggest thing is going to be what are the cost drivers that are driving it that would make them adjust their price. I know if you asked Kansas Paving, they're going to say their price is very reasonable considering what they're going through on it. But that's, perspective kind of thing. So
Might have been more reasonable a month ago. They've dragged this project out as long as they can.
yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, I hate to commit. I mean, I'd like to think we could get Friday to work, but I think if you wanted to be just safer, I think by Monday, I think we should be able to be able to set a meeting on Monday.
okay, well, we'll look forward to having a meeting Monday. If you can do it on Friday, then that would be even better. So,
We'll see what
okay.
we can do.
All right. Any other issues to discuss? If not, we'll call for motion to adjourn. Mr. Dean,
I move we adjourn.
I'll second.
a motion by Mr. Dean, a second by Mr. Schmidt. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0.